Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It's Doc from North America. It is Tuesday and 8:30 a.m. and it's 10:31 p.m. in Tokyo. So just giving you a flavor of the trading that can be going on, and obviously Europa. It's like let's see, when you look at Frankfurt, it's in the afternoon. I think it's 2 in the afternoon. London, it's like 1 in the afternoon. Paris, so forth and so on. Barcelona, so forth and so on. Switzerland, Amsterdam. Trading is going on, and we're just starting to get rolling. In another hour, we'll be fully moving. Right now, it's just all the electronic trading in the States. And hey, Robin. And hey, George. And hey, Mountain West. Again, getting work done, I see. Okay, good, Mountain West. Very, very cool. So we start off with the dollar index. You can see the dollar index kind of parked itself in that between the 100.5 and the 101.5 in that kind of range, I guess you could say. We did see that wild tick on the euro. I was just double checking that euro Turkish lira. We'll go back to the dollar index as we speak. And I think we closed in a daily buy last night. And again, the interest rates, it's all governed by those interest rates. Dollar. No, I got a red green and then another red green. It's pushing up, that's for sure. And the weekly is trying to push up. Do we expect to see? Oh, there's Mountain West. Mountain West says, "Hey, got all my trades done early and all my work is done." So that's really good. Excellent. Positions on or adjusted or taken off. Very smart. Get it done, as they would say. I think that's got something to do with the cable guy. Get it done. So that's good. So we can sit here and talk and look and explore, as traders do when we get things done and we're not busy. We I guess you could say we shoot the bull. We sit around or stand around in the trading pits. We used to stand around and just talk about different things we read or saw, or what looked like something interesting, the possibility of, it was that type of thing always. So that's where we are now. I always like to think of the webinar as like a live cyber trading pit where a lot of different opinions come in. Sometimes they have lots of validity, sometimes they don't. Anything's possible. Just remember, Doc always believes and always has believed that there is no wrong question. There is no dumb question. There are only long answers or short answers to them all. That's what it really comes down to, because you never know. You could say something that makes no sense except for the last 3 words, and all of a sudden you go, maybe I need to look at that. After listening to somebody say something for a minute and a half, it's like, no, that's crazy, that's crazy, that's crazy. And then at the end they say something that's like, why didn't you say that at the beginning? And that is what trading's all about in the end result. Let's see. Mountain says, position on. I just sit and watch, and now I should shoot the bull. Exactly. In other words, see what you're doing right now is the dollar euro Turkish lira going to keep going up after all this time of highs. I just went in to fix the euro Turkish lira. It was just flying along. We have not looked. I'm glad you brought that up. We have not looked at the dollar Turkish lira in a while. We just they seemed to. What happened was there was always a premium from one to the other. So I think it was the euro was I guess 2 handles lower. I think that's what it was. And then when things really got really strange in Turkey, with the currency, that's what it is. It was 2 handles higher. That's what it was. And you can see here it's trading at 19.5, and the euro Turkish lira is trading at 20.5. And so we stopped paying attention because also you can see some of these wild swings. It's got a lot of I always said I don't know if you remember hearing me say this or if you listened to me. 4 and 5 months ago, and that's all we did is follow the dollar Turkish lira. And that was its location, like in real estate. So in other words, the European Union borders Turkey, and there's a lot more what I would call fundamental trades going on. So in other words, someone wants to buy, I don't know, apples or who knows what, oil or whatever is coming from Turkey that they can buy. And the European Union country that's nearby might buy it because it's physically closer. So the transaction in euro to Turkish lira has more stability, and to me it's more genuine because you're trading goods for services or goods for goods. Whereas in America, you got the transport costs. You've got, you're talking about 6, 7, I don't know, 8,000 miles, 9,000, 8,000 miles. So in other words, why would somebody buy something from Turkey in the United States unless it's something that can't be had? It's something unique. But along the Turkish European Union border, which Turkey almost ended up inside the European Union at one point, when President Erdogan, or I guess it was Prime Minister Erdogan then, things kind of changed with the idea that Turkey was going to go join the European Union, and they haven't. They're part of NATO, but they're not part of the European Union. But they still have that location. So we look at the euro Turkish lira nowadays way more. The dollar Turkish lira makes less sense. I think it used to trade at two handle premium. So in other words, it should be like 1851 instead of 1951. Things have gotten a little strange. At one point, they were trading at parity. In other words, they were both the same price. When they started trading for the same price, that's when we stopped paying attention to them because it just showed an illiquidity problem. And so I just thought, why are we going to follow something that's illiquid when we can follow the euro Turkish lira, who's, really doing real work compared to the dollar Turkish lira, who's doing a lot less of what I would call real work. It's not being transacted because of they're buying goods or they're buying services. Instead, it's just speculation, value-wise, and interest rate and inflation, and that's why we've kind of moved away from that. Does that make sense, Mountain? And at this point, yeah, I would assume so. I mean, at one point it was 20-something. I think the all-time highs are like 21 and a half, or up in that area. We could squeeze this and see. Squeeze the chart. Yeah, you see the highs there. That's back to November of last year, and you can see it doesn't look right anymore. Ever since inflation, it hasn't looked right. So we stopped paying attention to it. And we drifted to the euro Turkish lira, and at the same time, we followed both of them for a long time, and we actually saw it happen live. We watched, once when Chairman Powell and Mrs. Yellen, the Secretary of Treasury, started in I guess it was July, like 4 or 5 months after Mr. Biden became president. Started saying, inflation had gone from like 1.5 in January when he took office to 4.5%, 5% by July, and all they kept on saying over and over, it's transitory. Don't look behind that curtain. It's not worth watching. It's going to go away. Forget about it. And then that was like July, and we're all like, this is crazy. This is crazy. It's not transitory. What the hell's transitory? And then we got into December, and they were still trying to tell us that it's transitory. So a year goes by. Mr. Biden was elected in November, so it's December. It's like 13 months, and all they're doing is talking about it's transitory. And then January and February come along, and it's like it's so crazy that the People's Bank of China left their currency flat when all the other currencies were moving because of the inflation and the confusion. The People's Bank of China didn't really know what to do with it, because they have a fixed currency or unit or whatever you want to call it. And so it was still trading like as if there was no inflation. And then coming into March of 2000, I guess you would say 2022, all of a sudden they realize, or I don't know what words I could use, but end result is it's accepted. It's not transitory. Okay, so almost a year and a half goes by with Mr. Biden, and there's they keep on mumbling these crazy things and really hurt. I guess more it's bad. Powell has hurt himself more in his ways, but it really destroyed Secretary Yellen's career reputation. People now don't take her serious at all. They find her to be they didn't believe that she was so political, and she would basically not be able to interpret economics for politics. And so it really, out of it all, in other words, Powell will retire one day, and no one will pay attention to him, and he'll get hired because he was a Fed chair. For Mrs. Yellen, she's going to have to work for only the Democrat Party, because anybody with any real banking sense, financial sense, is not going to want her, because they know that she doesn't pay attention to economics, and that was a big surprise for some, a majority, let's say. Not me. I was not happy with Mrs. Yellen's actions to begin with. I could see the politics in it, but it took a sledgehammer, inflation, to show her political nature more than her economic nature. And so, that's how we carom from Euro Turkish Lira versus Dollar Turkish Lira to People's Bank of China, showing the chain of events, showing the level of agnostic could be a word you could use. In other words, not caring, not relevant. In her mind, inflation was just not relevant, and it had to go to 9.5%, 10% before she realized it was not what they refer to as fleeting or transitory. Transitory, that's what it is. So, I hope that makes some sense there. It's it's my classic, chain, flow chart. I always look at things like in a cybernetic flow chart way. In other words, not only does it have to happen, I have to see it happen in other areas to confirm that it's happening. And when you see inflation, like you see, fuels doubling and food doubling and, clothing doubling and real estate doubling, and, you see all these prices rising, that's a flow chart saying there's inflation. For Mrs. Yellen, she didn't see that. She didn't recognize it. She actually told us it was a total misinterpretation. It was only transitory. And so you could see the damage done to the dollar Turkish lira position itself. I don't think that Mrs. Yellen was political in her finance role. You think she's ignorant? Is that what it is? You don't think it's you think that she's just not capable of being a financier then? It's one or the other. She's incompetent or she's political. You got to take your choice. So you're saying she's incompetent then? I don't think she's incompetent. I think she's just a part of the party politics. You don't become, head of the Federal Reserve without big party support. Same thing with Powell. So she's incompetent as a financier, or she's a political hack. It's one or the other. Or you have a third one. I'm glad to hear it. I can't wait. I'm all yours. I don't have another one. That's why I'm waiting for you to give me a good one, because I have no idea how else to describe it. You're a political hack or you're incompetent at finance for the things she did. It's one or the other. And I saw the same thing at the Federal Reserve. I thought that she wouldn't raise rates when she needed to raise rates, and when she did raise rates, she didn't need to raise rates. So I saw that inversely related at the same time. Oh, you don't have a third one either. She's incompetent. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I agree with you, Giannis. So Mountain. There is no answer then. Okay, that's fine. I can take that. All right, from 11 to see. Yeah, that makes sense, Giannis. Oh yeah, they're insider trading galore. They're like leeches or like ticks, like on an animal. Yeah, yeah, and she only gets paid, I think, $175,000 a year in her job. So as Secretary of Treasurer, she gets 175. I think Fed chairs get like two and a quarter, 225,000. So even 10 years. Imagine she's been Fed chair from Obama, and now she's Secretary of Treasurer. So what is that? You want to say 12 years? 2000 to I'm sorry, 2008 to 2023. So we could give her all 15 years. All right. So let's round that number out. Let's go $200,000 for 13 years. That's $2.6 million, right? So how'd she get the other 9, or how'd she get up to 11 to begin with? I say she's just a political hack, because that's okay. I don't have a problem, her being a political hack. You know what I mean? That's all right. As you got you put a uniform on, you play for the team. That's what it comes down to. I don't have a problem with that. That's not a bad thing. I'm a political hack, so I have no problem with that. Calling her a political hack, it's not a bad thing. She's just a politician, But to think that she's like neutral is just, you can see she's never been neutral. So, anyhow, you see what I'm saying, Mountain? It's like you could have used the word neutral. You could have said she's neutral. That would have been a good one. I don't know how else to describe it myself, but that's close. That's a fair way of looking at her. She's neutral. Some firms that enlist her services include Credit Suisse, Citadel, Standard. Oh, yeah, they want insider information, without a doubt. City Nation Bank. Thanks to her gigantic payments, she was able to acquire some assets. Yeah. When you're a political connected person, trust me, I had people throw money at me, offered me money to do things. I was like, no, that's not the uniform I wear. I'm here for, for the society. I'm not here to make money. But there's a lot, and if it's unfortunate. It just is the way it is. I just have X amount of values. Trust me, I'm sure I have. There's values that I don't have, but when it comes to politics, I've never accepted money. I don't think ever for anything. I've accepted favors. Getting some property split or done something like that, getting it done faster, but it would have been done either way. It's just less hassle, not having to use an attorney, things like that. But, nothing more than that. A couple things like that. Matter of fact, my congressman, who I was on the winning campaign with, he used to say, why don't I hear from you? Why do I hear from you only at election time? Why aren't you in contact with me all the time? Why don't you come visit me more in Washington? It was like, why? I voted and worked for you because I agreed with your politics. That means I don't have to do what you're doing. I don't need to. I got other things I can do. I don't have an interest in doing that. And I'll show up every 2 years for your election, and we'll get you reelected again. He was in Congress a long time. So yeah, I guess that's the whole game. Really, is that unfortunately politics is really twisted and turned our financial system. Well, think about it. We're on an interesting conversation here today, but think about it. The financial markets collapsed due to politics, okay? And, from there, you have, for half a decade, if not longer, a decade of interest rates below zero. So in other words, you buy a government bond, and instead of you getting interest and being rewarded for buying that government bond, they charge you interest. Talk about crazy. Really. What a great list you got there, Giannis. Yeah. And she knew as Fed chairman, when what do they call it? The free put. So she knew she could blindly be long because she wasn't going to raise rates. And she did that for a long while. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, you could explain it all out, easily. Very easily. Through politics with no problem. Sure, and Mrs. Was it Mrs. Pelosi? Same situation. They own 4 banks. In other words, they actually own a little local savings and loan or some type of bank out in San Francisco, San Francisco and so forth, or in California. And at the same time, they trade options, things that most people here are scared to death of. I'm talking about in general, not just here at Dukascopy, but I'm talking about everywhere on the planet. People are terrified of options. And, the spooky words of call and put. Call, put, strike price, ooh, premium. And so she's out there swinging away. Her and her husband are buying, they invest $30,000, make like $3 million, get rid of it after 2 days because they know that policies are, she's a speaker. So she's, changing policy so that it gains money or loses money. They had calls, they had puts, they had all kinds of things going on. It's all politics. Anyhow, that's where we are. I guess we should get over to the euro, since we were just looking at the euro Turkish lira. And let's take a look at the euro right there. And you can see it fell into the daily sell there yesterday right there. And then, let's see, like that right there. And then let's put it up on, let's see, there we go. Let's put it up on, where's it at? Let's put it right here. But that was an interesting conversation about the political people running our machines, I guess you could say. Or what do they call them? Not organisms. They have another name for it. Where they call it organizations. Like, I guess it's not even organizations. Something else. Like the Treasury and the banking and all the different departments that they run and how they run them and basically take advantage of it financially. Republicans got in power this year in the House, and they've passed rules, but Biden won't sign them, about no more investing. You have to have blind trust, things like that, so they're not jerking the markets around. And so insider trading is still legal in Washington, which is really weird because sometimes they go after Republicans if they sold stock like within a year of the stock going down. They say, oh, they knew. But when Mrs. Pelosi does it, they don't say a word when she's buying calls 2 days before it pops. They use it as a weapon. It's always entertaining. I laugh because I'm a political hack. It's like, well, then, you're going to wear the uniform, you might get knocked down. That's the way it goes. You got to play the game. Fight back. I always did. So there it is there, the euro, and you can see it there on J4X at the same time. Matter of fact, you can't at all, can you? There we go. We got one of them today. Now, today we've got the slow. Where's the fast today? Where'd the fast go? One moment we got the fast. Another day we have the slow. It's really becoming a dance. Let's see. I'm just going to throw it in there. An recent one. Right there. There we go. So you can see there it's at 30. The yellow is at 44. It's breaking down just like the hinky is. It's showing the weakness there. Not even going to wrestle with it today, traders. I've given up. And we'll just look at the numbers. It's fine with me. And then from there, we go over to the cable. Cable was in a buy. It's interesting. I guess they're celebrating still or something. And there's GBP. Holding up. It's down a little bit. Oh, see that? They closed just a little under yesterday, but still in that buy. So it's been in a buy 4 days, and it's still battling, even with it dropping down, not below the lows of 3 days ago, but still showing weakness in there. The weekly is holding on, and the fast and the slow are holding on, so there's no real pressure there. And as you can see, did I show you that on the euro? The euro is a little bit different. The fast, notice, has broken the zero line, and the slow is heading towards the zero line, and it's the beginning of the week. So there's a little pressure on here on the euro, which is a little surprising. But then I guess when you see interest rates rise, and European Union is the second largest economy in the world, and so they got to join in with the Federal Reserve in a sense. So the rates are rising a little bit here in the States. I think I'll show you the 30-year, and it's flipped around again, I think. Where's it at? Mountain says, I am short on cable. Am I right? Well, it is going down, so that works real well for you. So at the moment, you are right. I'm waiting for it to give us some good, clear signals at the moment. Not seeing them. There you go. Here you go. Yeah, so you can see here, here's the 10-year bond right there. And so these 2 days right here are down, interest rate. When this goes down, interest rates are rising. So let's go back to the cable for you. And cable has not gone into a sell yet, and the weekly has not. So maybe it'll bounce. But then, who did I give the when? I gave the when to somebody a couple days ago. Was it Benny? I think it was Benny for the GBP AUD. I got to go look at that right now. Now that we're talking about it, we gave him the when, get long, and yeah. Okay, so there's the bounce that we talked about yesterday. We'll get a little bounce out of it. Now we need this to turn back up because it was a wrong when, that's for sure. And the weekly is still in the buy. So chances are it's going to keep on trying to climb back up again there. That's why I said if you have the staying power, stay. Because we expect to see it try to make a bounce out of here. Or at least didn't think we were going to see a bottom in here or something like that. I don't think it was going to get that bad. It could, 180.84 and change. But I thought there might be. This is so deep a fall that we thought that we'd get some type of bounce, and it'll probably bounce around like this for a couple days. So when it comes to the mountain, the cable not yet, as far as we're concerned. It's has potential to still turn back up again, and it's in a buy anyway, so you wouldn't want to short it. And a weekly buy. There you go. Hey George, Doc, you have the fast blue line on only certain weekly market quants. Is there a reason for that? For example, I didn't see it on the crude. Yeah, because I think crude has such a volatility, and its theta is so wild that I use a GAS 5, and we can take a look at that. And I don't use a GAS Super 3.5, but let's take a look at that because I stare at it and I keep on thinking I need to modify a 5.7 to see if we can adjust the crude. So here's crude, and see it's a GAS line 3. That's what it is. So the blue line really is the green, and when we put a 5 in there, it's a sloppier. Let's see if we can. Let's throw one in there. Insert study, and we'll put a 5 in there, and you'll see what I'm saying. The 5 is real herky jerky. It's not smooth. There's GAS line 5. And then we're going to make it go to the weekly. Yeah, so if we move this up like that for the time being, and then we move this up like that, and then we go like this, and we move this one up just a little bit more, you're going to see it goes underneath. See where it goes into the buy on the 3? Because it's moving. The volatility is so fast, I use a shorter wavelength. And the volatility is so wild that it drives the 5 like into a sell, then back into a buy again. They both join in. Matter of fact, you can see the 3 joined in here on the sell, and the 5 took all the way out to here to go into the sell. And so that's the reason. But what I've been thinking about is creating a 5.7. No. It's the other way around. I thought about creating a 5. I have a 5.7, and it doesn't work. I was trying to figure out how to do something shorter, but I haven't come up with it yet. Maybe it might be a 2.5 or something like that, or I don't know. I've been playing around with the ideas in my head for a while, so that's the reason why not. Yeah, it's the frequency is for the amount. We've talked about this. Let me get rid of this. We've talked about a couple products. I think yesterday I was rambling about it for a little while, and that was that let me kill the other thing. There's a couple products out there. Let's see. There's the 5, and I want to get rid of the 5. Okay, so remove. There we are. So there's a couple products out there. Volatility, the volatility index, and crude oil. And I think there's another one out there that has its own volatility. In other words, it's totally, it's so powerful of volatility that it doesn't fit stretched out wavelengths because they're just wild. And so crude oil needs to be really short-term focused because it's just really hot. Notice you rarely ever see a 5 on the daily one, like right here. It's always a 3 because that means because the action is much more aggressive. It's a higher volatility when you're looking for day to day. When you're looking at a broader week to week, we use a 3 when it comes to fuel because of the volatility in it. So that's the answer to that one. All right, where do we go from here? Since we have oh yeah, we need to check out some more currencies. Let's check out more currencies. We can do a run and gun more in it. There is Swiss. You see Swiss is turned up. It went into the buy there yesterday, and it's lifting up a little bit. And the weekly is showing strength in that. So we're kind of like, it's a. We kind of think that at best it can get up to the top end of this Bollinger Band, but that's about it. And then I think we'll just try. It'll probably try to roll over. I don't really think there's a lot of damage coming. And as Janos was saying, with who Mrs. Yellen has been advisors to, or her husband has been, the Credit Suisse now is cleaned up, and a lot of that problem came from Credit Suisse. And you got to give the Swiss credit in the sense of, not a pun on words there, but you got to give them some, you got to say, hey, they were really responsible. They realized there was a problem. They got it done. They really did. And they used the Federal Reserve to get it done. The Federal Reserve did overnight swaps with them for a while. We pointed it out. Where we were seeing the overnight swaps with the Bank of Switzerland from the Federal Reserve, which were obviously funneling that money into Credit Suisse to prop it up and to stop the bleeding, which is what these central banks are supposed to do on some level. And then it got sold, and so the government didn't have to bail it out. That's the whole idea, is give them enough life to live, so that the private sector can bail them out, buy it at a discount, remove the bad management, and start over again. And then, unfortunately, investors lose money, but that's what investing is all about. Invest smart. So, from there, let's go to the yen. And the yen has me a little confused on some of the action. But I guess I have to say, as I say that out loud, and let's put it up over on here on J4X. When I say that out loud, we know that the Bank of Japan is going through some changes. New chairman of the bank, the central bank and so forth. And he's got a 1.5 year exploration now. He's going to try to figure out to change things. Remember, they've been in recession now for, 30 years, 40 years, something like that. They're not really growing very well. They're just status quo, inflation, and so forth and so on. Not good. Let's put it that way. It's not good over there. And so this guy says he's going to see if he can do something that will, do something about the situation. So that's probably why we're seeing, and we do over the decades. I've seen yen go in their own direction. They just go a different way. Inflate. They're really a command and control type of economy. They really. I mean, the central bank of Japan. The Bank of Japan owns something like 55 or 60% of the Topex, if not more, and it makes them own something like 45-50% of the Nikkei in stock. They control. They're invested deeply with their companies. Now we know that the Federal Reserve is invested in some companies, and they own some bonds, like old Merrill Lynch bonds probably, or something like that, or Citibank, that type of thing. But they probably own Bear Stearns bonds still, or something like that also, which are now JPM bonds. But they hold them in or lend money to them for fair value or for the merger or whatever. And the end result is that we know that they prop things up, companies up. But in this case here, Japan is really needs to dig itself out of the situation it's in. And so this fellow came in saying that he's going to do a full year of study, and it might take as much as a year and a half, but he wants to change the way Japan invests. Yeah, I could imagine that. Who's saying that? Hassan. Yeah, I can imagine that I hear that too. I hear that they're really frustrated with the inflation, and there's no the birth rate from it. You can see, when I talk about flow charts and cybernetics and so forth, you can see it in the birth rate. I remember when they passed the point where more adults were in diapers than babies. That's not a joke. That their population is getting older and their younger population is diminishing. Matter of fact, this fellow from the Bank of Japan, I believe, or it was the Prime Minister itself, said we are working on jump-starting marriages again. And marriages are nowhere near what they used to be in Japan. People are just disappointed to the point where they won't start a family. And so... that's why the currency seems to be acting the way it is that there's hope or the lack of hope that something's going to change for the better, and that's why we see it moving differently than the rest of the pairs trades against the dollar. All right, and you can see here on J4X too, the slow is at 32 and the fast is at 41, so it's lifting. And you can see the hinkies are lifting. So again, it's losing against the dollar. It's not making a big move, but it's doing that. And Hassan is right. The people there have said, you got to change things. We can't keep on living this way. We're going to. I think they dropped under 100 million now. I think there's something like 98 million or 92 million or something like that. I think it's like 98 or 99 million Japanese in the country itself now. So. Yeah, they need a reinvigoration of economy and so forth. All right, and then from there we see the Turkish lira again. You can see it's in a sell there for a bunch of days. Not there. It went into the sell here. You have that crazy Ivan where it just jumps all the way up and then comes right back down again. That's volatility basically. Representation of that. You can see the fast is trying to break down. And then we go over to J4X and take a peek at it there also. Euro Turkish lira. Right there. And you can see the yellow is 44 and the green is 30. So it's moving down with the red hinky ashkies. Then from there, we slide over to the King Peso. I was at a taco stand yesterday, talking to the owner. He has 4 taco stands. We were talking about the strength. He knew where the peso was trading. He knew he was like 17.94. I was like 18. So no, it's 17.94. I said, yeah, I know it's that, but I just rounded it out. I mean, he's that deeply. He buys things from there, so he's right on top of the currency. Let's put King Peso in there, and there it is right there, 17.79. Yesterday was it was 17.84 yesterday. Okay, so he was off. He was probably looking at delayed data, and so you can see here that is really strong. Yeah, and I call it the King Peso now is because it's the king currency in the BRICS. If what we've read is true, and that is that they're joining the BRICS, it'll be the most powerful currency in the BRICS. It'll be like what the euro is to the dollar index. It'll be over 50% of it. Same thing here with the King Peso will be over 50% of the BRIC. And we go on our ramble about the other two, which will be the South African Rand and the Indian Rupee, which will probably be another 20 some odd percent of or 25% of the index. And so the index will be like almost 75-80% just those three, and then from there whatever other BRIC countries that are out there will make up the next 15-20% of it, or 22% of it, or something like that. But peso will be the powerhouse in the BRIC. All right, and then from there we go and look at the Canadian against the dollar right there. and that's because that kind of matches up to the oil. And so it's been going down, and oil has been going up. Let's put oil up on the chart here. And there it is, light sweet crude. And you can see it's been climbing for a couple of days now. And over here, you see it on Chicago Quant. There is the front month contract. And you can see it's just a little unchanged or down a little bit for the day. Yesterday's high was 73.69, and we're at 72.42 now, so it's about $1.25 lower, and that would make sense why we see the Canadian dollar losing against the American dollar at the moment. And that's why you also saw that nice big drop from the 136s down to the high is that 130? Yeah. So the low there is 133.15. So that's why it dropped like that, is because energy was going up in value. And that's the cross match that goes on there. And then we jump over to the South African Rand. And if the Rand is running like that, there's a good chance that gold is down. Let's put gold up on J4X. Right there. And you can see there's gold moving down. And we'll put gold up over here. And let's see, let's get a hold of that like that. And the gold right there. You know, it's been down. It's going nowhere. It's going sideways. Someone I was talking with last night, they were saying, oh, you know, gold's ready to take off again. It's like, I guess, you know, it's looks like to me, but you know, it's been in a nice buy since the 1850. It's run to almost 2100, so that's 250 point move over just a 2-month period. So 2.5 month period, something like that. So it's probably consolidating at this point, and then they'll wait for the next bank of data. Like now tomorrow, I was telling you is that I'm hearing from the pros basically that are involved in the markets like ourselves here, that they're watching for the CPI. They're going to be looking at rental rates and real estate closings. That's what's going to be focused on the CPI tomorrow. In other words, no matter what the number is, that's the one that's going to make them pay attention to it. They'll look at those two numbers, those two sectors, and see what that does. And if it gains or loses, then that'll have an effect on the market itself of buying and selling. And that's the way it usually works, is that funds have to follow their manifesto, and they have to justify, and depending on the sophistication of their incorporation, the incorporation itself, the manifesto, that's what they can do, is they can not get sued by saying this is what we're looking at and make a case for it. So it's always easier to sue than trade. It doesn't matter if you're making money. They'll sue you for anything if you can get money out of it. And so that's where we are with the metals. And that kind of makes us leave the currencies. And then we will, for Benny, we'll throw it up there one more time. Let's see, where's it at? Benny and the Jets. Dun, 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 dun. There it is right there. And so we're getting that little bounce. We're off the highs, though, of course. It was up to 186.75, and right now we're trading at 186.38. We'll see if this moves up. I would imagine it's something like this. It'll consolidate for a couple of days and then join in again. I think and that will be a good win. Let's hope so. Doc doesn't like to be wrong twice. His math doesn't. We don't like to see my math wrong twice. That's always disappointing. But then, obviously, if it's wrong twice, then the third time is really a charm, no matter what it is, a short or a long. It's going to be a winner, and it'll make both of those losses up, which is always cool. So that's why you need to trade not overextended. You don't bet the house. Instead, you bet just the one room or half a room. All right. From there, we go over to... where do we go? We can go look at the rest of the metals. Like there's silver. And you can see silver's I think I have silver up there on the screen too, don't I? XA, yeah. So there's silver. The silver is breaking down, still breaking down, but not really. It's more of a consolidation. The weekly is very close right there. You can see that. We're seeing that weakness right there. And you can see the same thing here on a daily basis. And you can see it's trading at, as we used to say on the floor, divine, 69. And green is at 53. So the weakness is there. You can see it in the math right there. And then from there, that's an equity side. Robin, we have a lot of little colloquialisms. And so from there we go to copper. See what copper's doing. There's copper. It's been showing some strength, and you can see the slow is at 40 and the fast is at 54. So it's lifting up above, and you can see the hinkies are green. And let's put it up over here. There it is right there. Oh, what is it doing? It's breaking down now today. Okay, interesting. So we're seeing some weakness in it at the moment. And it's trying to breaky down. And what else can we say about the copper? I guess what we'll do is we'll slide over to the platinum. See what the platinum's up to. And there's platinum. Platinum is showing strength. So the weekly is, the only thing that, looking at the weekly, you see the fast is at 1880. We'd like to see that turn up with the slow. The slow doesn't even want to break the top of the manifold. That thing is just like, very comfortable up there. And then we go over to the energy sector. And there is the front month, as we saw before, trading at 72.55, lifting up a little bit more. And we go take a look at the back, and we'll put up on J4X. Let's put Brent up there. There's Brent, trading at 76 and change. And then we see the back month of September on crude over here in the States, right there, trading at 72.60, and the back month is 71.88, so that is now 74. So we've moved under $1. Just shows that there's a lot of demand for the upfront month for delivery. So let's put it this way, it's not going to go minus, that's for sure. And so then from there we take a look at nat gas, and there's nat gas jumping in the buy yesterday, and the weekly is so close. It's only minus 0.03, 3 ticks higher, or somewhere like that, 3 or 6 ticks higher, and this thing goes into the plus. So maybe by tomorrow it could be in the plus. When's the last time we saw a weekly buy? Let's go back to the beginning of a weekly buy in this product. We had that where the fast got going and the slow took another week, and the product went from the 2.5 area, 275 area, all the way up to the 330 area. So Metho, you might get a shot at selling out some up in the 330s. Who knows? Maybe it'll give it a jump. It's a heck of a move when you really think about it. From $2 to 330, I don't know about that, but maybe it'll come up to $3 even, or 275, something like that. In this area here. Then we see that's it's from there. What we do is we jump over to over to Spain, and we take a look and see what the Europeans are doing. And that's been tipping us off. It's been over to 27s for a couple days now. It was like it fell into the 27s, and we were like, yeah, maybe they're going to sell it down. And we went to $2 a cubic foot, and they fell down to under $28 a cubic foot. Ouch. And there it is there, 28.42. So 13 times more. 13 times more in cost in Europe. Boy, what's wrong there? What are they doing wrong? Ay. They're surely, as somebody that's done meteorology and physics, I really have a hard time understanding where their heads are at. One thing's for sure, it's not in the right place. That's for sure. From there, that does it with the energies. So what we'll do is we'll take a peek around. I haven't seen Bitcoin today. I wonder what Bitcoin's doing. Remember, we said yesterday, when the market was up 100 on the Dow, I said, Bitcoin is getting crushed. Watch out. But they only sold it down, like down 150, 125 points for the day. So it was only like a 200-point swing. Let's see what the Bitcoin is doing this morning. Just flatten out. That's all it is, sitting there. No real direction. And looking at that, then you go over and look at the S&P 500, and it's kind of flat too. It doesn't know what to do. They sold it down at one point and closed it flat, I guess it was, and knocked out the high. And then today they're doing it again, taking it, going after the low. Yesterday's low, I think it was like 38 or 39. And then that's where we're playing with the 36s now. So I guess as long as now I heard some fundamental thing, I don't know, something about some delivery problem with a subsidiary of the crypto universe, not Bitcoin itself. It's one of those wallet things again where they they're holding it for people instead of people holding it for themselves, which seems to be very confusing. I would think that if you're not going to hold on to the crypto in your own wallet, then logic would say go trade the options in the futures contract. It probably makes more sense. All right, and then from there, that'll be interesting. Can you imagine the arbitrage that may occur if people are not holding on to the actual crypto? And then what happens is that people are trading the futures contract and have to deliver it. But I think they deliver in cash. If it was a delivery in crypto itself, boy, wouldn't that be a great arbitrage? But that probably messed up their heads to begin with. But that would be super. I mean, that's the best thing to exercise in accurate prices is exercise. That's what it's all about, really. Exercise products. All right, now from there we'll take a look at the Tech 100. Since we got some time in here today, we got a few more minutes. And there's the Tech 100. And it's been in a buy for a couple of days, doing the same thing, consolidating, and the weekly's in a buy, so they're not really putting any real pressure on that. And we did see, let's put it up on J4X here. There's the Tech 100. Right there. And as you can see on the daily, when it spits out, we'll see how that goes. I'm sure it's all green at this point. And it's trading over the 13,000 area again. That's pretty cool. It's been really consolidating between the 12s and the high 13s. There it is right there. And you can see the yellow is at 66 and the green is at 85, moving up towards the high end of the range. And then we'll take a look at the granddaddy, and then we'll go from the granddaddy, which is the Dow Jones Industrial Average right there. Where is you? You're here somewhere. There we are. And so there's the, you can see same thing. Little weakness, nothing major. 100 points is nothing. It's background noise. And so they're holding up in the buy. The weekly's got the fast underneath the zero line, so it does concern me. We'll see how they go. See if it's the beginning of something. We got a new wave signal a couple days ago, so we'll see what that does. From there, I thought it might be a bottom. From there, we'll take a look at the last of the stock indices that we do follow in the States, and this is the Russell 2000. And you can see Russell's been it's been trying to get into a buy. The weekly is trying to get into a buy. It's real sloppy in action. It's the most speculative stocks of all. And so at this point, the only way to describe it is that it's at the bottom end of the last couple year range. That's pretty much what it's at. So that's it for us traders. We're going to get going with the American market. What kind of title should we use today? I guess politics influences markets. How about that? Because we have seen that, that's for sure. Markets influenced by politics. I like that one. All right, this is Doc from North America. Happy trails to you until we meet again, which will be Wednesday. Happy Hump Day. Happy trails to you, to all our trading friends. Later, later, traders. Arrivederci.